Hi, this is Janet from Try It, Like It, Create It, and today I am going to be using my works board from We Are Memory Keepers, and I'm going to be making a Halloween card. So to get started, I have my card folded and I want to use black over the top of the card. So I am going to use the trimmer here on the works board and line everything up where I want it to cut. Alright, so I'm going to have to cut off looks like a little bit more from that. Well, let's try this way. I'm fighting with my paper a little bit here just to make sure I've got everything lined up, and then I want to get it right on that trim line, which is right here. I'm going to move that out of the way just because I don't want to cut my white paper. And let's see, is there, okay, I'm going to give you a little trick here on cutting off a little teeny tiny piece of paper. And it is so tiny, I don't know if it really matters here, but alright, so that's the tiny amount I want to cut off. And what I'm going to do so that my paper doesn't tear is I'm going to lift this blade up and set it down in the center of the paper and push into it. Now I heard it click there. So now I am going to, yep, and I already made a mistake. Alright, so then from there, I'm going to pull in both directions. And that tears off that little teeny piece without giving you a rough edge. And so now, I can see that it's going to fit my card a lot better. Maybe with a little bit of white edge, that's okay. Alright, so to move on, I am going to use the stamp platform. Let me just turn this around so I know I'm in frame and you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to stamp, and okay, so there's that, and I'm gonna grab my magnets off of the back here, and the reason I'm doing that is I want to stamp on the inside of my card. Okay, now I have a little bit of dirt on this front, so I know this, so on the card, so I know it's going to be my front, and so I want to stamp a spider right on the inside there. And I had everything up there. He's upside down, so I couldn't see him. Alright, so what I want to do here is I want that spider just on the corner of the inside. Alright, so let me see if my stamp platform is going to reach that far. And if not, I'm just going to turn them around. Alright, because it doesn't really matter what direction I stamp from. Alright, so that's where I want the little guy. Alright, and I am going to put my magnets down to hold my paper in place. Alright, and then I am just going to ink him up with some black ink. The nice thing I like about the stamping platform is that if I don't get enough on at once, I can go back in and stamp it. And even now, got it backwards here. Alright, so I've got my magnets here and the kind of plunger parts over here. The stamp is not touching the paper right now. Not until I push down. So I'm going to push down, and I want to hold it there for a second or two because the ink needs a few seconds to adhere or absorb into the paper. So now I'm going to lift this up and see if I like my stamp, and I do. If I didn't, I could re-stamp it again because my paper isn't going to move around on me. So I'm going to clean this off because I have another stamp that I want to stamp next. And so I'm just going to set this card aside because I want to stamp on the front piece here. And I'm going to stamp this raven on here. And what I want to do is I want to emboss him. So I am going to stamp with Versamark so it's sticky, and so that I can then emboss. But before I do that, I'm going to grab some powder, and I am going to use, this is from Scrap Perfect, and it's the Perfect Crafting Pouch, and I am just going to kind of tap around here. Now you can see that there's dust on here, and that's okay. On black paper, it's going to come off. It's just dusting, but the reason I do that is because I don't want my embossing powder to stick anywhere but where my adhesive on my stamp is. Okay, so I'm just getting this all prepared, deciding that that does work. Now the other thing that's nice here is that I have a grid, so when I pick up that stamp I can look real close and see that I have it sitting on a grid line, so I know that that's going to line up really well. So I'm just going to turn this over and ink it up really well. It's a little hard to see because it's, you know, clear and sticky, but I'm just going to give it a good coverage and put it in place, and then once again give it a push and give it a second or two to join with the paper. Right, then I'm going to lift that up, and I can see that that image is there. So my next step is to take this and get some embossing powder on it. So let me just move my board out of the way. Use a scrap piece of paper here. All right, and I'm going to use this Zing embossing powder. It's a metallic. So I'm just going to give it a generous coverage. And tap it off. And there we can see it has good coverage, and also I don't have any extra on there because of the crafting pouch. So now I just need to replace my powder and then use my heat gun, and that is going to be noisy. So I think I will turn off the video and then come back after that's been embossed. So I'll be back with you in just a second. Alright, I am back, and I have done the embossing, and hopefully you can see here, I just love the look of the metallic, and I have wiped off the powder. So hopefully you can see that that's gone. I'm going to take my works board back because I'm going to stamp on my card, and let me get this in place here using my magnets, and then I am going to stamp Happy Halloween. So just looking to see where this works well on the front of the card, and it's buckling just a little bit from the heat, but it's not bad. And I like how these stamps are cut so that they fit together, and I'll show you the brand here in just a second if I can find it. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm using here is from Hero Arts. It was a set of different holiday greetings. And the other stamps I'm using are from this Halloween set, and it was Inka Dinka Doo, and this was the other set that came, the other stamps that came with it. And I think I got this from my friend Anne from Anne Makes, so give a shout out to her and say thanks for the stamps, and if I'm mistaken, she sent me a goodie bag with so much stuff that I am not surprised that I can't remember what all was included. So, all right, I'm going to move this magnet up a little bit closer to the top here. Just so, yeah, that's going to work. All right, so now I have this, and once again, I'm going to look at my grid here just to double check and make sure I like where everything is sitting and it's not crooked. All right, and then I tried a couple of different stamps, and what I found worked the best on the black paper was this silver. So I'm going to try to ink this up here by getting into the silver, and I think I've got good coverage. Okay, so I'm going to put this back in place. Just double check, and you can see that I've got a little bit of the gold on here, maybe a little bit of the bronze as well. That is not going to stamp onto my page because it's not at the same height. Now these are little words, and I don't know if I'm going to need to do it again, but that looks nice. I'm just going to, I think I'm going to give it one more go just to make sure that that happy is well stamped. Ah, yeah, much better. All right, so I'm going to move that out of the way. And once again, I'm going to move my works board out of the way. I'm coming around finishing up here on my card. I have just a little bit more that I want to do here, and what I want to do is I'm going to lay down a towel because I want to spritz this. And what I'm using here is this eye zinc dye, and it has beads in it. Oh, my camera is crooked. Let me straighten you out a little bit. I don't know if you even noticed that you're not straight on. Okay, so I'm using this finishing spray, and it has this great metallic look to it. So I'm going to I'll test it out here so you can see what this looks like. Okay, so if I were to spray, let's see, and let's give that a look and see if that's too much coverage. Everything I have here is this Radiant Rain, which is a shimmery mist, and it kind of has this holographic look to it. So I want to take a look and see what that will look like. And this one is a little bit more forgiving on the spray, and it, once it's dry, it gives it this really nice hollow kind of effect. And I think that's the one I'm going to go with, is this iridescent mist. So I'm going to spray that on here, and it's going to cause my paper to curl, and it's going to be a little wet. So I'm not going to be able to glue it down right away, unfortunately. But so you can see you can add as much or as little as you want. I think that'll do it. I have it on my hands too, and I tend to shimmer as well. So I might just hit that with the heat gun, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I am back, and what I have done is I have trimmed a little bit more off of this, and it's dry now, so hopefully you can see that iridescent effect. And I have these extra strips here, and they have the iridescence on them. But what I think I'm going to do is turn them over, excuse me, and use the black side so it sticks out a little bit. So I'm going to grab my best glue ever, and I am just going to stick these little guys down. So I'm just going to lightly run a bead of glue on them. And stick them down, and then I'll trim them off. this one needs a little bit more glue under here. So I know this is, you know, a little fussy detail and it's definitely not necessary, but I think it kind of adds to the piece. The same way that the, you know, the little spider stamp on the inside does. So now I'm just going to go in and cut these off. And if you look at my fingers, you can see that I have that holographic spray on my skin. Like I said, it tends to like to get everywhere. That's why I put the towel down to try to grab as much of it as I can. Alright, so I'm going to set these aside just in case I need some more. I don't think I do, but we'll give that a go. And then I'm going to glue this on top like that, so you'll have the black pieces sticking out. I'm going to move this one over just a smidgen if I can before it dries. There, I got it to nudge a little. Alright, so now I'm going to glue this down, and I don't need a lot. I stay close to the edge. And that's probably all I need, but I am going to go into the center some. Just to make sure I've got it covered. Alright. Now you might see off to the side here I have some embellishments. I grabbed these, and I also grabbed these little nail gems, I guess, nail crystals, to see if I wanted to stick them on here. I just, you know, I don't know that it needs it. I don't know. I think we'll call it done, and I might add some little drops to the front if I feel like it needs it. But there we go. Quick and easy Halloween card with stamps, embossing foil, some iridescent spray, and some stamps on the inside and the outside. So hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, give me a thumbs up. I'd love to hear your comments. If you think it needs anything else, if you think it's too sparse, I'd love to hear from you. So I would also love to have you subscribe to my channel if you're interested, and that way you'll see other tutorials as I work. So thanks for spending some time with me, and I enjoyed having you with me. I'll talk to you again soon in the next video.